All right. So we are back live. I want to thank Kelly. Kelly, are you still with us on this call?
Yes.
Great. What an incredible panel. I mean, that was a busy chat box going on during your panel.
Well, we had a good time just discussing a very important issue on sexism and racism, trying to figure out what some solutions are and how we can just kind of embrace each other, all as one. I think that's really what the goal is. And so we talked about problems, we talked about some issues, and then we talked about what are some solutions, how can we come to the table and just, try to all be a part of things.
Absolutely. Now, you put this panel together, and I really appreciate it. I don't know if everybody knows, but you're also a MEIEA board member, and you've been instrumental in kind of guiding this voice and have us do more of these types of sessions. Can you just kind of tell us a little bit about that and some of our MEIEA Meets events?
Well, we've started the MEIEA Meets. We also have Stacy Marita, who is now our diversity person on the board. I think that's very important to have. But it is an issue, and you see it in society, and you just want to try to make some change and make awareness. I think is probably a good word to use, that there are those problems there, not just in higher education, but in the industry, music industry across the board. And, where it comes to even salary differences. I mean, we didn't speak too much to that, but that's even another issue that I'm sure that we could discuss. So that's what we're doing, is we're just trying to talk about it and give some people some ideas, encouragement, give them some encouragement as well, and some ideas as how to be an agent of change.
Absolutely. And so one of the things, for those of you that are not familiar, when we canceled our summit last year because of COVID, out of that was what MEIEA Meets came out of. So we meet every 3 weeks, every month, any type of topic that you want to discuss. It's very casual, and we just get together usually around lunchtime or in the afternoon, end of the week, and we discuss the topic, and we bring in panelists and experts, and we try to help that conversation take place. So if you have questions or ideas or suggestions for us to host a MEIEA Meets event, please reach out. My email is president@meia.org, and we will make sure it happens. Thankfully, summer is coming up. People can breathe a little bit, end of semester, no finals soon, and maybe we'll have some time to connect again. But I just wanted to thank you, Kelly, for making this panel happen today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for allowing us to do that.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Next up, I wanted to bring in Clyde Ralston over at Belmont University. See, today you're wearing your LSU gear today. All right. Yesterday was Belmont. Clyde, you are current vice president of this organization, and we've worked together now for several years in different capacities. Now, the past year plus has been to get these 2 summits taking place. And we are also currently working on hoping to have an in-person event for next March, a year from now. But one of the things that you also have done in your capacity as vice president is to oversee a grant committee that consists of several board members and general MEIEA members to look at grant applications that we have received from members. Tell us a little bit about grant opportunities that folks may not be familiar.
Well, we actually have 2 different types of grants. We have student enrichment funds, which is simply research grants. And the student enrichment funds are smaller amounts, but if you are at a smaller school that maybe has a restricted budget and you're trying to do some sort of event for your music business students, and you're looking for some additional funding, that is the purpose of those student enrichment grants. So it's the idea is that it's an activity that students can get involved in, maybe get some hands-on experience, or travel someplace perhaps that you wouldn't be able to get to otherwise. And it doesn't necessarily pay for the whole event, but it might subsidize the event. So
I think it's up to about $1,000, correct, or so. About 1,000 is a student project grant. Up to is what it's historically been.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing that's probably of more interest to our audience, perhaps, is the faculty research grants. And every year we take applications sometime in the fall. Winter deadline. It's been a flexible deadline in the past. We may address that as a board over the summer. See if we can't make that a more definite deadline so people can prepare for it. But the idea is that you put in for a research grant in the fall, and the committee reviews all of the grants. And we've awarded typically 3 grants each year. It really depends on the quality of the pool of applications and how much money people are asking for. So we might be able to do 4 if the total amount of money that we are dedicating to this is not over $9,000. So the maximum you can apply for is $3,000. You can apply for less. In fact, 2 out of the 3 recipients this year did not ask for the full $3,000, so that's good for our budget. But we want to fund quality research. So there is an application process, which we're also going to review this summer, try and make that a little less complicated for everybody. But we had 3 MEIEA members, all faculty, review all the applications. We rank ordered them. We looked at the budget request, and we granted funds to 3 of those applications. Gigi Johnson and Storm Glore for research on community transformation during and after the pandemic. Terry Tompkins and Ulf Osterly are looking at music trigger cities. And then Andrew Mall and Nathan Merrick are doing research on collaborative ethnographic research, looking at the Furnace Fest and the effect of nostalgia. So those were the 3 recipients for this year.
Great. Well, congratulations to those grant recipients. And for those of you who did not know, again, up to $3,000 grant. That's actually quite a significant amount these days to do music business, music industry research. How will you find out about those grants? Just keep checking our newsletter that our awesome Secretary Scott Laguerre sends out weekly or every other week. That's where we usually include all the information. Of course, you can go to MEIEA.org and find grants up there. Usually we tend to do those applications due sometime in the fall or end of fall.
Right.
So they will be coming up. And then you usually get a year to complete your project. I know we are going to have Bruce Ronkin, our journal editor, join us any minute as well. But I know he looks forward to receiving the research projects that are born out of those grants. And whenever we have an in-person summit, we also try to help with the registration fee for you to come to the summit and present the research that you completed thanks to the MEIEA grant. So it's like a double whammy. It's a good opportunity.
Part of the grant is that if you request it, you can get up to $500 towards the expense of traveling to the summit and presenting the results of your research. And one of the expectations of the grant recipients is that they will publish or submit for publication. It's not guaranteed acceptance, but submit for publication the results of your research to the MEIEA Journal and to present at the MEIEA Summit.
Exactly. And so I'm going to hand it over to Bruce to quickly recap again a little bit for those that weren't tuned in yesterday. it's a good segue into the MEIEA Journal. Bruce, do you want to tell us a little bit about when that article is due, if you're doing research and you want to get it published?
Sure. Thank you, Armin, for the opportunity. Yeah, I want to invite all of the MEIEA members who are interested in contributing to the journal to be aware that June 25th is our deadline for priority consideration for publication in the journal. If anybody has questions, especially if it's the first time you're submitting to a journal, for example, just email me ahead of time. I can answer any questions you have. The email address is journal@meia.org. Once you all submit your articles to us, then there's an editorial review committee, a group of your peers that go through and review all of the submissions in order to pick the best of the group and what is best suited for our journal. And the great thing about the editorial review process is that the feedback from that group will be sent to you, the writers, so that you can get feedback on the work that you're doing.
And our latest journal is out, and not only do we have physical copies, but you can access it at meia.org. Bruce, about how many articles are in this latest edition of the MEIEA Journal?
I always lose count. I should have looked at this. We go between 6 and 8 articles per issue typically. So it's right around that number. Then there's a book review section in the end that I always say book review, but it can be reviews of software, of video works, just about anything that appeals to the members that you'd like to write about.
Great. And actually, there was a lot of resources shared in the chat today from some of our panelists about different books. And I thought there's some good book review opportunities, especially for those that are thinking about using it in their teaching and in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce,
Yeah,
how long have you been on the MEIEA board? I'm curious.
I think I'm the longest serving member on the MEIEA board at this point. I think it's about 20 years because I was elected to be a member of the board. And then a few years after that, maybe about 2 years into the life of the journal, I was asked to be the editor of the journal, and that is a board position. So I've been on the board for all that time.
This is why we won't let you go, because you have too much history. We need all this information constantly. One cool fact about you, this is something we don't really get to discuss this at board meetings. Everybody's so busy in the business of the organization, but you are an expert on electronic wind synthesizer. Can you give us just like a 15-second overview of that? If that's possible.
Sure. So I started out my musical life as a saxophone player, and that's what all my degrees are in, and I learned the other woodwind instruments. And then after I got out of college and was in my first job, I really got intrigued in what was going on with electronic music. And there were some inventors that were just beginning to develop this approach to sound synthesis that allowed wind players to get involved. And so the instrument I play looks much like a clarinet, in that it's an instrument you hold and your fingers work, but it's got breath sensors and sensors that measure jaw motion and different things you do with your fingers, so that you can get really thorough and expressive control over the electronic music data that gets sent to synthesizers. And it's a way for me to just really expand my sonic palette as I make music. So I've been playing that instrument now for 20 years.
And you're also a composer. I mean, I know you wrote a collection based on Langston Hughes' collection of poems, Ask Your Mama, and it's a jazz collection.
I did, yeah. Ask Your Mama, 12 Moods for Jazz, where the composer Langston Hughes, one of the leading figures of the Harlem Renaissance movement, in the margins of his poem, he put all kinds of notes about what kind of music he envisioned accompanying this long 12-section poem. So I did a musical realization of that, working with a performer named Ron Spearman, who was a famous tenor, worked on Broadway for years and at the Metropolitan Opera. And so I created that work. If anybody wants to find it, you can find it on SoundCloud and you can listen to it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Bruce. Thanks for the chat. And you think it's been a great summit so far. It's been some amazing panels and insights and research. So we look forward to continuing today. And I think in about 5 minutes, we have our next research group that is going to present on their papers that they submitted to the conference. So thanks for joining me, Bruce. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Armin. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.